Hello, this is Sarah Ermetti, and the following presentation will speak to crafting a cover letter for positions in higher ed. Let's begin by speaking to the purpose of a cover letter. Its purpose is to introduce you to potential employers and summarizes your qualifications as a candidate. Typically, your cover letter details your relevant skills, experiences, and achievements that demonstrate your value as an employee. A well-written cover letter can persuade hiring managers to invite you in for an interview. Even if an employer doesn't ask for one, including a cover letter offers an opportunity to provide in-depth information about your qualifications and specific examples that may not necessarily be on your resume. Your cover letter is also a great way to show potential employers your enthusiasm for the opportunity. When you're summarizing the qualifications for the position in your cover letter, you don't want to repeat your resume. You do, though, want to focus or tailor the cover letter to match each job posting. Just as you're crafting a resume directly to each position's needs, qualifications, knowledge, skills, abilities, the same thing should be done in the cover letter. You're just not repeating your resume, you're telling your story and how your background fits what they're looking for. You want to keep it simple and keep it to one page. On this slide, we'll talk about a few quick tips, and then we'll go into dissecting the different parts of the cover letter. So very simple, keep it to one page maximum. They may only glance at it, they may read it thoroughly. You want to make it easy and quick for the reader to see your experience directly relating to the position. Make sure your font matches what you use for your resume. Address a letter to the employer. So you're not including your contact information at the top. It's all about the employer. You have your salutation. Your first paragraph is the introduction. It names the position and briefly speaks to your interest in the role. The second paragraph is where your story of experience directly relating to the position responsibilities come into play. You want to be specific. Write about actual experiences from your overall career history that relate to 3 to 4 things from the posting. This is not a repeat of your resume. It's telling a story of how you're relating your experience with their needs. You're showing the reader that you have performed specific duties that they are seeking. The third paragraph is your closing. You're reiterating your interest in the position and you include your contact information, your phone and your email. Be careful to avoid generalities in your language. So for example, you will see from my resume that I possess skills, experience, and education for this position, or I'm the perfect candidate. Avoid those. You have one chance to make a great first impression to get that interview. The cover letter and the resume are where you make the case of why you are a top candidate. Take the time to customize each letter before you begin to apply for jobs. Quality beats quantity each and every time in the job search. Spelling and grammar check before you submit. Research the employer before you apply to know their language. For example, nonprofits, NFP or not-for-profit, are organizations rather than companies, and they're generally led by an executive director than a president CEO. Often they work with donors and constituents rather than customers. Credit unions have members, not customers. Hospitals often call their employees staff, and so forth. If they request a cover letter, it means they intend to read it, so make it meaningful. Next, you're telling your story. So again, you're targeting the position you're applying to and you're tailoring the letter to the job and what you bring to the position. Don't state what you don't have. Focus on what you do bring. Avoid generic language or assuming you're the perfect candidate. Think about the reasons they should want to speak with you. What do you bring to the position? Don't repeat your resume, but focus the letter on your experience directly tied to their needs. With this slide, I'd like to start breaking down how to craft a cover letter to fit an actual job posting. So this posting, a procurement specialist, this is from an actual university website. What job postings normally do is they will speak to the job requirements, the job qualifications, which usually are education, certification, years of experience. But right above that, kind of in the center usually of a job posting, speaks to what, if you were hired, you would be doing on a day-to-day basis. That's where you want to concentrate your cover letter. So in this position posting, it speaks to several bulleted points. You want to read this very thoroughly and think through, what if they asked me, tell me about a time when you planned, designed, and managed procurement or purchasing programs. What if, tell me about a time when you followed a strategic sourcing methodology. So think through, what if you were actually called in for an interview? How would you start answering these questions in an interview? That's a behavioral interview process. Think about that as you're crafting that cover letter and how you're going to tell your story of how your background fits what they're looking for. So what I like to do is look at those bullets in whatever form they are on a job posting, what the job duties, responsibilities are. Pull 3 to 4 of them, and that's what you're going to speak to in your cover letter. So in this one, the example is plan, design, and manage purchasing programs, communications training, contract negotiation, development of policies and procedures, problem solving, critical thinking, compliance. Those are all the different bullets that you could think about. You don't need to match all the bullets in your cover letter. You don't need to speak to everything. You certainly don't want to tell them what you don't have. You want to focus on what your background is and how it directly relates to their position. On this slide, I've provided a sample format just to give you an idea of a quick, simple formatting that you can use for your cover letter. On the following slides, we'll break down each section. Let's start with the heading. So first you start with the date format, month, day, year, put a space or two, and then their context. So it's all about them, the employer. If you know the person that is doing the hiring, or you know who the person is going to read your documents, go ahead and put their name and their job title. Sometimes that's hard to find, or sometimes you may not be sure, especially in higher ed where we have search committees. There may be several people that are those first eyes on your documents. So it's fine to leave it as Office of Human Resources, name the employer, the street address of the employer, city, state, and zip. As you're writing the salutation, if you have identified the person that you know is going to be the first reader, just double check the correct spelling of their name and their job title and go ahead and use that. Otherwise, in higher ed, we use search committees for nearly every position. And so there are several individuals that are going to be reading your documents. Often it's the recruiter or the talent acquisition person that's reading it. But in this case, it's fine to say, Dear Purchasing Manager Search Committee. So, dear, insert the exact job title from the posting, Search Committee. You can also use Dear Hiring Professional or Dear Hiring Manager. I would say to avoid using to whom it may concern, though. Now, this next paragraph is your hook. It's telling the reader that you have the experience they need. You're highlighting what makes you uniquely qualified for the position. Try to use skills or achievements related to the job and a specific story that demonstrates your ability to excel at work. It needs to be short, concise, and directly relate to the job posting requirements. So you're customizing your letter to each position you apply to. Take 3 to 4 responsibilities from that job posting and tell the reader about your hands-on experience with that responsibility. This can either be in a paragraph form or take each responsibility out and put it in bold as you see below, and then in regular font, tell your story in 2 to 3 sentences. So for example, you might put in bold, plan, design, and manage purchasing program. That came directly, same language from the job posting, and that's how you write it. And then in regular font, 2 to 3 sentences about the totality of your work history and how it relates to that particular bullet. I'd say 3 to 4. I've listed several here. Again, choose the ones that you know you can tell your story. And now to your final or closing paragraph. You want to begin by restating your interest in the position. You may then choose to write a brief statement describing how your background and experience will benefit or add value to their position. And then include your phone and email so they can easily find how to contact you, and then sign the document. And lastly, the following are some resources that we believe will help you in crafting your next cover letter.
Thank you for watching our presentation.